Business is a sport. This video is going to help you if you're an executive, an entrepreneur, founder, a business leader. This video will help you transform your mindset from the status quo to much more of a sports-oriented mindset. Start running your business like a sports team. Hi, I'm Michael Ceely. I work with executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes and help them have a better mindset for higher performance. Okay, so what's a business athlete? So a business athlete is someone who understands that business is competitive just like sports. If you reach a certain level, there's always somebody who's going to be more innovative, more hungry, that's going to compete against you. It doesn't mean you can't compete together with these people. It just means you have to understand, truly accept that you're in a very, very competitive environment. And a business athlete understands that leadership is key to success. You see this time and again with sports teams, a sports team that's running pretty good, but then they get a new coach and it turns the entire enterprise around. They start getting better and better results. You see this all the time. Also see it in leadership in the business world as well. If you're a leader in business, you need to up your game. You need to not be replaceable. You need to start working on yourself. Okay, part one of this video is about how you yourself as a business leader can become more of a business athlete, and part two is about how to motivate your team to be more like a sports performance team. But let's start with you because leadership is really the key. So there's three things that I have here for you that are important for you to become a business athlete, move from just regular leadership into more of the sports performance mindset. Number one is your purpose. If you don't have your purpose written down, articulated in a way that you could repeat it, that means you're not clear enough on your vision and your goals and your purpose. Now, I see a lot of businesses that write down their mission statement. It's buried somewhere on their website. Maybe they recite it, but it's kind of vapid and they don't really mean it. Now, for you as a leader, it doesn't mean you have to have your business's public-facing mission statement. You need to have your own personal mission statement about why you do what you do. So it could be pretty obvious. For example, money. Let's just be honest, right? Like you'd like to get paid for your value. That could be part of it. So I would suggest you write this down if you haven't written this down already. Articulate a mission statement that you're going to look at it and it's going to help you when your motivation dips and keep perspective in your business decisions. So write out personal reasons for why you're in leadership, why you're doing this. Write down also the deeper reasons, like maybe your product or service helps a lot of people. You need to write down all of these reasons why you do what you do. That is really step one. Okay, the second thing you can do to become more of a business athlete is work on your skill set. Don't be complacent about this. You know that there's maybe once in a generation, there's some super athlete that comes along like a Michael Jordan or someone like that, and they're just so talented that, well, they don't have to not work, but they have a lot of talent. Most likely you too also have a lot of talent. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore your skill set. So in business and in sports, there's always somebody working harder on their skill set if they don't have the talent and they can surpass you, or they're very, very talented just like you and they work harder on their skill set and they surpass you. So you need to, if you haven't already, have it on your calendar events where you up level your skill set. So do you have a business coach? Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody who you can reflect your ideas on, not work in isolation so you can improve your skill set? It doesn't necessarily have to be courses that you take, but it has to at very least be some sort of like leadership summit or some sort of coaching or some sort of a mentor that you check in with or a high performing peer group that you check in with to always up level your skill set. And the third thing you can do to become more of a business athlete, be more competitive and hungry, is to focus on your energy. What do I mean by this? Now, what this means is that just like an athlete, if you're a business leader, you have a limited amount of energy. You only have like a certain amount of matches to burn. You need to be very, very conscious and focused on what you spend your energy on and how you get your energy. What do you do that enriches you and feeds you, and what drains you? I would suggest you do an inventory right now where you write down one column, energy boosters and energy drainers. And these are typically going to be people and or activities and tasks that that boost you, that feed you, and also activities, tasks, and people that drain your energy. And just be really brutally honest about that, because you only have a certain amount of energy on a daily basis, and you need to be really honest about getting an inventory of what boosts your energy and what drains it. Okay, so increase the things that boost your energy. Maybe there's certain things that you like to do that really energize you. You need to have those iterated all the time. You're going to do your best work when you have your best, most positive, highest energy. This is just a fact in sports and in business, okay? And like I said, you need to eliminate or reduce the things that drain your energy, okay? So for example, a lot of business leaders have a morning routine. It doesn't have to be some, super involved thing where you meditate or whatever, but at least like 15 minutes, at very, very least, of something where you get your mindset and positive mindset set for the day. So also on the topic of energy here, you need to look at what gets you in the zone. Now, we've all seen athletes, someone like maybe Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, when he's in the zone or in the pocket or that space where athletes just perform at their best almost effortlessly. You can see Steph Curry when he's about to make a three-pointer where he hasn't even launched the ball yet, and you just know he's going to make it because he is in that sort of effortless zone where everything's clicking on all cylinders. There's no resistance there. You need to, as a business leader, identify what gets you in the zone and times in your career where you have been in the zone. I would suggest writing down those events, what was going on contextually in your life and in your business during those times when you were in the flow or in the zone, and look at that. Most likely there weren't like a lot of big stressors in your life, or maybe there were. It's really personal, but write down exactly what was going on in your life and things to the best of your memory that got you in the zone, and look at a formula there and make sure that you have these somewhere in your schedule where you have activities or certain contextual things that keep you in the zone performing at your best. Okay, here's part 2 of the video. We're going to talk about your team and how you can facilitate more motivation in your team. Start looking at your business team and your employees as a sports team. So the first thing you need to look at to facilitate higher performance on your business team is thinking about what motivates them. So intrinsic motivation in the individual. So let's just get real. Money. Okay, so bottom line is that people like to be valued, and that's reflected in salaries or stock options or whatever the sort of compensation is. The essential relationship that you have with your team is that they are selling their labor, their talent to the marketplace, and you are bidding on that talent for a particular price. If your salaries are not high enough, you're not going to be getting the best players. Bottom line, let's just be honest about that. So think about that. There needs to be maybe some adjustments to your salary. Look at that. That's going to be helpful. Another contributor to motivation is, do people feel like they can create and contribute? We're tribal people and we like to feel that we're contributing. So are the people, members of your team, do they have chances to contribute and be innovative? Look at that as well. So the other way you can facilitate motivation in your team, not just intrinsically, but it's from the outside. What can you do in the environment, make that environment better for them? So first one is pretty obvious, just simply lead by example. And this is your messaging, how you carry yourself, what are your moods like? These kinds of things are way more important than you actually think. People are looking to you as a leader. Another thing you can do to facilitate motivation is make roles and positions crystal clear. So just like a sports team has different positions that are played on the field, that's done for a reason, so that you've seen this in baseball when two outfielders are running for a fly ball and they collide. It happens more often than you think. This is something that needs to be clear. Who's playing which position? What are your zones? Doesn't mean that you can't be innovative. I understand a lot of startups are very flexible and innovative, but some of the problems with startups is they're too flexible and that there's crossovers and there's not really clear roles and responsibilities. That needs to be tightened up. Okay, the last way I would say to facilitate motivation in your team is to increase your authority and increase the hierarchy on the team. And I want to be clear about what I mean here. So there's a difference between being authoritative and authoritarian. You don't want to be an authoritarian leader because that's like a dictator who says my way or the highway and doesn't take any feedback, and they're going to self-destruct eventually. Authoritative means that everyone understands that you make the executive decision, that you're in charge, okay? Now, there may be a board of directors, some other structures involved here, but if you're in leadership, you do have authority and you need to use it in a way that people understand that you are in charge. Because what happens when someone's in charge, when there is authority and hierarchy, is it creates something called psychological safety on a team, on a sports team or on a business team. And what this means is that the team players know that someone's in charge, that things are going to be handled, and it takes a lot of stress off of them. Oftentimes when there's a gap in leadership or poor leadership is when you see other members of the team kind of stepping up to compensate, and you don't want to do that. You want to be authoritative in your leadership. Okay, we've talked about how you as a leader can become more of a leader, business leader, athlete, and also how you can run your team more like a sports team. Let's talk right now about taking action, because you watch videos like this and you get inspired, you find some interesting ideas, and most people don't do anything about them. But I really want to push you to take action. And I think you can take some action here on some of these fronts. So I'd like you, if you're able to, write down 3 actions you're going to take for yourself to become more of a business athlete. Like literally write these down right now. Pause the video or come back to it later and do this. Okay, don't stop watching the video without writing these down. Okay, I would like you to write down, if you haven't already, or maybe you already have, but crystallize your mission, the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, and write them down in bullet points or whatever it is, and then articulate that into a inward facing message for yourself. So it doesn't even have to be fancy. The grammar could be off. It doesn't matter. But you really need to look at this thing and say, this is why I do what I do, for my family, for money, for this, for that, for providing a product or service that helps the world. Write it down. That's really step one. That's going to be very grounding for you. The second thing I'd like you to do is decide right now to improve your skill set. Just one thing. And it's typically the thing that you don't want to do, something that's maybe uncomfortable, like maybe it's public speaking, or maybe it's negotiation, or maybe it's managing employees. Take some sort of a course or get a coach to really skill up in that area, because your competition is always scaling up. You can't be complacent, okay? And the third action I'd like you to take is commit to improving your energy. So eliminate one energy sucker in your life and amplify one energy enhancer in your life, and be honest about that. That's going to be a huge game changer. Energy suckers and that sort of negative stress just really kills your motivation, as opposed to something called eustress, that's spelled EU stress. That is what they call positive stress, and that can tire you out a little bit, but eventually it's something that just really energizes you. So work on improving your energy. Okay, more actions. Let's talk about 3 actions you can take to facilitate motivation in your team. I want you to identify your top performer on your team and identify your lowest performer on your team. What are the traits of the top performer? What are the traits of the low performer? Create a plan right now to fire your lowest performer. It's okay to do that. This person's an adult and they can be probably happier somewhere else. You don't want to be enabling them if they're not a good fit, okay? Okay, the second thing I'd like you to do is look at a way to increase your authority. And again, not in an authoritarian manner, but more in a manner in which you are making more executive decisions, being more in control of that area of just laying down the law if you need to lay down the law, or providing guidance, or just simply telling a team, no, we're doing it this way. It doesn't have to be a drastic change in your personality, but look at a way to increase your authority just a little bit. And finally, and this is what I tell all organizations I coach, is look at your compensation for your employees. People are motivated by money. It's just reality. Okay, you can have a great culture and all that kind of stuff. And I know people work at nonprofits. I get that. But bottom line is that people are motivated by money. Look at your compensation package. Consider increasing it somehow so you're going to get and retain the best talent. Okay, in summary here, we talked about how you can improve yourself as a leader and also how you can improve your team, but more in a sports-minded manner. Now, there are certain blocks to this, and we're not going to get super deep on this today, but I want to say that there's a lot of leaders who have psychological barriers or blocks, and they can try all of these strategies, but there's maybe some deeper psychological things going on. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you haven't identified what those blocks and barriers are yet. I have another video here, which is going to help you, and it's about conflict avoidance. I'll leave a link in the description below. And that is one of the most common things I see in leadership is avoidance of conflict, either in an overly assertive, aggressive manner or in a way that's more people-pleasing. I think that video is really going to help you. And if you want to get even deeper, I have a free masterclass. There's a link in the description below. It's for business leaders, very serious business leaders only. It's a free class. There's no upsell, pure information to you. Because if you've watched the video this far, it means that you're really interested in up-leveling as a leader. And there's some common psychological blocks that really hold leaders back from implementing a lot of these strategies. So I want to help you with that. And the class is really going to help. There's a link in the description below, and you'll have access to that free masterclass. And if you're interested in working with me in coaching, I work with very ambitious people, people who have this kind of sports mindset. And if that's going to be helpful for you, definitely connect with me. There's a link also in the description below about some of my coaching programs. And thanks all for watching, and let's go out there and win.